Don't nobody talk about the Antichrist. Ain't nobody talking about it. I'm sorry. I couldn't say that with a straight face. Philosophically, I perceive and believe that the Antichrist is not anti Jesus Christ, because that wasn't even his name anyway. I believe the prediction about that aspects of things, if it would be so believed, it was prediction that a lot of us would wake up to the truth of knowledge not being evil and the truth of ourselves and how religion is a prison and Christianity is the biggest warden of all of the belief structures, especially the Abrahamic beliefs, because most of it is grounded in servitude and marginalization of anybody that is less than male and Caucasian. It wasn't originally like that, but it just evolved to be that way. And I think those who wrote in subjectively their opinions alongside some old, very, very old truths and claimed them as their own, this is something we need to get out the way. And I know there's a lot of babies out there talking about it, but it needs to be reiterated in this moment for me. Every single story in the Bible or any other Abrahamic religion or Abrahamic type religion was stolen from a previous iteration of the same stories. So, and then in every time they rewrite these stories, they add also their current opinions about things on top of that, and they call it God's word. Okay, and so that's true on its surface, but underneath the surface, we all can speak God's word. Why? Because we're all a part of the same. There is no man built with incarnate matter that is superior to another based on such things. God called you to say or do something, and God can call anybody to say or do something because we are all within that same body and within that same energy. So I always call bullshit on anybody who claim to be the arbiter of the voice of God. And only that person is that arbiter. That's why you ain't gonna catch me aligning myself with anybody that calls himself Pope. Cause don't get me started. Cause you mean to tell me, um, the same people who did all those things, all those years and all those generations, and yeah, sometimes they apologize for the. But how many times you gonna say sorry for doing terrible shit and still be believed as something good? I don't understand how that works. Cause either it's the voice of God, Christianity, Catholicism, and the Pope is the voice of God, or they're not. Because if they are, that means God really hates some people. Then why make us? Right? Because Catholicism, the Roman Catholic Church, this really some terrible shit. Because if God, the God that is perceived to be must either pick favorites or does not exist in the way that they say. Anybody with common sense can sit down and think about that for 5 minutes. If they're a full grown adult with a fully functioning brain, and if somehow fought out of their Stockholm syndrome to see things from a clear vision without bias, can see that don't make no sense on any kind of level or surface. So for me, from a philosophical perspective, the Antichrist is the anti-Christian, and they're all over the place. You were taught, and this is my assessment, you can have a different assessment. You were taught that that was supposed to be something evil. Well, which one is it? If my theory or my philosophical perspective to be correct, that means that there are people who no longer want to be created like animals mentally and spiritually. They want to be free to think, free to understand, while also being free to lay out their own cosmic path without someone telling them what's going to damn them somewhere. Because in this life, for that to be true, I have to also believe that it is God's will that children be harmed and hurt. I have to also believe that it is God's will that genocide is okay as long as you follow the correct religion. And honestly, I'm going to tell you right now, that would make the God of Christianity no different than Leopold to me. And some might hear this and think, oh, that's blasphemy. I really don't give a damn what you think if you think that, and if you think you're supposed to attack me when I say that. Because if you really think about what I'm telling you, it is getting at the core of the major difficulties humankind have with each other. And it's down to these belief structures that separate and divide us. And once we get past those, we can start dissecting race and ethnicity for those control structures. Before we can even get there, people got to unbox themselves and get out of prison, break out of prison. And that prison is up here. And you'll never be able to use fully what's in here. That is metaphorical for your own spirit, your own mind, your own thoughts, and your ideas, and your own God tapped in energy. It is encased in that prison. But those of us who have figured out how to get out of that, sometimes we have a challenging time being around you folks. But I do believe at the end of the day, part of our existence is to help you break out those prisons, regardless of what anybody else says or does. And a lot of things that are going on in our public zeitgeist, and a lot of things that are going on in politics, and a lot of things that are going on with these laws that ain't got nothing to do with y'all think. There's a lot to do with keeping the prison intact. Because if people start to think outside of those structures, then they'll no longer be fit to be slaves. That is all. You're loved.